What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Summertime Rendering. This is episode 6, and with me, as always, I have Bluespade.
One other thing I wanted to point out is, yes, the episode did kind of get delayed for, I guess probably because whoever was fan translating this probably took their time, because I think it's I noticed the subtitle font looked a little bit different than the one I usually saw before. So it's probably the reason why the episode got delayed being uploaded for maybe about a couple days or so.
Yeah, I think on my end they didn't translate like some of the text in signs and stuff like that, so I kind of had to guess as to what it was saying.
Yeah. But in this episode, we do get to learn more about the lady in glasses, she originally introduced herself as Ryunosuke, but her real name is actually Hizuru. And also the fact that she's well aware that there were shadows, in the island that she was living in, even when she was in high school.
So this is a phenomenon that's just been happening for some untold amount of years, I guess, on the island.
Yeah, I mean, we do get to learn a lot more about Hizuru's past in this episode, and her relationship with Ushio and her family, and of course, she's very well acquainted with Ushio's father, Alan, and also the fact, I think the reason why she also decided to leave the island after one of her friends or her acquaintances, who's also named Ryunosuke, was killed by a shadow. So it's the reason why she decided to take on that alias in the first place.
So I'm kind of wondering if the story she wrote was some sort of way to maybe warn people about the island or something.
That seemed
because she was going under that pen name, and
yeah,
she would the story she wrote was pretty much about the island.
Yeah, I think that was the obvious thing that she was trying to do, is try to get someone to notice some kind of some kind of code that she imprinted into the story, which of course in this episode we find out that Shinpei is able to solve that once he figures it out, but that's only after he looped several times. But I think half of this episode mostly focuses on Hizuru when we find out that she does actually go to Ushio's funeral much earlier than Shinpei did, and we find out a few things in regards to Ushio's autopsy, and who was examining her in the first place. And Hizuru, of course, suspects that that her body wasn't examined properly, so she deliberately opens her Ushio's casket and then just checks her neckline to see any markings, and we kind of do see some markings of strangulation, and of course she also makes the discovery that one of her childhood friends is also a shadow, and of course we find out that she's the mother of what was it, the little girl that Ushio tried to save, but we find out that little girl ended up dying and becoming a shadow anyway, which leads us to believe that I think either it was the little girl's shadow that killed Ushio or something else altogether. But I think it's likely it's the little girl's shadow that killed Ushio, and not likely the shadow Ushio, which we do get to see the shadow Ushio in this episode, but she's only wandering around in the beach, and we don't get to see her again after that.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed. I was kind of hoping that we would maybe see I don't know, maybe see Shin try to maybe find the shadow Ushio or something, or them meet up again, but I guess that wasn't going to happen in this episode.
Yeah. And what's also interesting that Hizuru has also been hunting down shadows at the same time, and we see that once we find out that that Alan had a shadow just wandering around in the funeral, which we're pretty sure that this Alan was trying to kill the real Alan just so he can take take his place. But then he manages to hide in the bathroom stall where supposedly this fake Alan was going into, and then she kills this shadow Alan by using a sledgehammer to the shadow.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. I didn't really. I guess we should assume that there are maybe more shadows of some of the other residents of the island running around than we were initially led to believe. I guess.
Yeah.
Because I never thought that there was a shadow. There was a shadow Alan of the Shinpei's stepfather. So that was interesting. I like how we kind of get this new information revealed as just by seeing Hizuru's side of things that we didn't previously know about.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we also noticed that I think one of the port workers from earlier in the episode is also a shadow. Yeah. But yeah, this leads to a lot of a lot of paranoia and tension in trying to figuring out who on the island is already a shadow and who's the real person. I mean, so far as we know, there are certain people we know who are shadows and some people who we know aren't shadows, but we know that the shadows are planning to replace them sooner or later.
Yeah, of course, we also see that Hizuru is acquainted with the old man, which I kind of forgot what his name was.
I think it was Nezu.
Nezu, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was also going on about shadows. So I guess he obviously must know something as well. They seem to be working together.
Yeah, and so we get back to what was it? We get back to Shinpei soon after his recent death in the last episode, and we know he's trying to go around ways to I guess to figure out ways to well, first thing he needed to do was to get in contact with Hizuru, but he took this risk on talking to the little girl and her parents, in which he does eventually find out that they're all shadows. But I just feel like it's kind of a risky move because he's just giving himself away already.
Yeah, I mean, because of the sort of questions he was asking, it felt like he did kind of give himself away. And I guess the shadows at this point must know that he's onto them. So, but I mean, it does kind of make sense. He's trying to find clues pretty early on, so to avoid everybody dying again, of course.
Yeah. But the thing,
yeah.
Thing is, I think it was in the previous loop, he already knew the little girl was already a shadow, but for him to go so far just to talk to her and then soon afterwards find out that the parents were also shadows is just kind of, still once again kind of risky. And
that was something I don't think that Shin knew in the previous loops, that the parents were also shadows, because we just know that they all disappeared and there were, it was just the little girl that was left behind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that was some new information. I guess he may have gained that they were all just shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, they were already technically dead.
Yeah. So like I said, the remainder of this episode mostly focusing on Shinpei, wanting to find out about more about Hizuru. So he goes talking to a variety of people that might know her, but I think two most notable people. I think it was the police officer, but the most information he got was from Alan, who gives who gives Shinpei I guess her contact information or some kind of clue of sorts that supposedly Shinpei can try to solve and then locate her afterwards.
Yeah, because of course we know that apparently Hizuru and her friend used to come to Alan's restaurant when Uchiha was still a child.
Yeah,
and that's how they know each other.
Mm-hmm.
I should also mention too that so apparently the kind of fan servicey scenes we've been seeing where Mio kind of goes into the ocean kind of, I guess, has somewhat of a point, because Shin finds out that the way in which he can differentiate the Shadow Mio from the real one is that they're wearing different underwear. Because Mio is wearing this striped underwear, and then I guess the Shadow Mio is wearing like plain white underwear or something, which he noticed when Shadow Mio was trying to stab him. So I guess that's a way he will now like try to differentiate between the two of them.
I mean, it's an interesting way for him to find out. Just straight up asking her like that. But
it could also just be that they wear different clothing as well, because I believe Shadow Mio usually wears like a schoolgirl uniform, whereas the real one doesn't. I don't think well, sometimes she is, but sometimes she wears different clothing. So I think that would be another way you could tell them apart.
Yeah, but Shin deduces that the shadow copies the appearance of the person, similar to what this said person was wearing, which is why he asked like Mio if she wore like white, just plain white underwear instead of the striped one, which Mio herself confirmed that she was wearing white underwear prior to having the change into the striped ones. So Shin of course deduces that that she ended up getting her shadow like shortly before this.
Yeah. Well, I think that was the outfit she wore when she first met up with Shin, wasn't it? Like that same kind of. Well, okay, no, she was wearing. Yeah, that's right. She was wearing different underwear, so it must have happened even before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Shin eventually, like, just try to get into contact with Hizuru, but he gets diverted to, I guess, to the old man, I think Nezu, and of course Nezu directs Shin to back to the funeral area, in which Nezu basically targets Shinpei's shadow to check and see if he's an actual real person or a shadow, which he confirms that Shin is an actual person.
Mm-hmm. So that's of course by that he does initially like try to get in contact with Hizuru through Nezu, and once Nezu confirms he's actually not a shadow, then he kind of leads Shin to where Hizuru is, and she's doing one of those weird like I don't know what the hell she's doing, honestly. Like she's like doing like a handstand. And she's just like upside down. Like I think she mentioned before, like she does that to try to stimulate her brain or something. That her being upside down is supposed to, I guess, help her think better. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it's just more. Yeah, it's something that similar to what L does in Death Note. In some ways, but yeah. So Shin eventually does come into contact with Hizuru, and the first thing he does is like, I guess it's his way to, I guess to confirm like that, what was it, that code word that he was instructed to give. So he basically just goes to Hizuru, telling her that he's a fan of hers and really like, reading copies of her books and such. Then, of course, Hizuru does confirm. I guess it's Hizuru's way to confirm that Shinpei is an actual person and not a shadow. And then soon afterwards, she recognizes Shinpei from the boat, but she notices that Shin has no knowledge of her prior to this until she realizes that Shin has been time traveling prior to this.
Yeah. And that's pretty much where the episode ends. Of course, this episode wasn't quite as crazy as the last one in terms of everything that happened, but I think we did get some interesting developments and some new information we didn't know about before. And I also liked that it kind of showed things from Hizuru's perspective and not, it wasn't all just like Shin's perspective. And yeah, I feel like where this is going, especially based off of the just like the promotional images for the series, is that I think Shin is just going to be forming this group of people that are going to try to fight against the shadows. You know, being Nezu, Hizuru, Ushio, and some of his other friends. It seems like that they're all just going. They're, I guess, going to band together, try to fight them or something.
Yeah, but the thing is, Shin can't take the risk of dying again. Otherwise, he's gonna end up looping himself forward from the previous loop. Because like, who's to say if Shin dies in this loop that he'll end up waking up when he's at the funeral or sometime later than that? Because we don't know like how far his looping abilities end up working like in a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if Shin doesn't end up looping again, because like as these series tend to go, there probably are going to be multiple different failed loops he goes through until he gets the optimal outcome.
Yeah. I mean,
but then with the way that his powers work, I'm wondering if he does end up making mistakes, if there are some things that happen he just can't take back because he can't loop back to certain points in time, and he just has to keep going regardless of any sort of bad thing, I guess, that might happen. So I don't know. I guess it'll be interesting to see how his powers work later on, depending on what ends up happening.
Yeah, but I do feel like in this episode, I think Shin's mistake was trying to confront the Shadow Child and her parents, just to try to confirm that they're shadows. But I think that may have been a mistake that may have given him away already. So I'm
wondering too if Shin got copied or his shadow was created again in this loop as well, because in the other loops we actually did see when his shadow was when he was like copied, but I don't know if we saw that scene in this particular loop. So I'm kind of wondering if his shadow is going to come back.
It's very likely, but
yeah.
I think, well, Shin is making the right moves right now, trying to recruit Hizuru. I guess you could say his group to fight against the shadows, and of course we'll probably believe that he'll come convince Mio to join the group and pretty much walk her through with everything that's going on so far, as well as I think.
I mean, he's already done that before in the previous loop as well, so
yeah.
I mean that it wouldn't be hard.
Yeah, but I thought this was an interesting episode. Definitely a lot of things like a lot of like new information we learned about Hizuru for the first time, and of course Shin basically trying to work around certain things in this loop without risking having to screw things up like he did before. But hopefully we'll see how this loop goes and how long he will last. If he's going to end up looping again, we're not sure.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Like it'll be interesting to see how long he goes without things just going really bad like they did in the previous loop.
Yeah.
Like how long he can last until he has to loop again if it does happen.
Yeah. I mean, if we remember, like I think it was in the second core of season 2 of ReZero, we saw that Subaru never died a single time, nor did he end up looping in that core at once.
Yeah, I mean, it depends with ReZero. Like they're Subaru will probably die quite a few times it seems at the beginning of an arc, and then eventually he'll learn the ways in which he can avoid dying, and he'll go a while or maybe all the way till the end of the arc without getting killed. So I'm not really, that's the thing, I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work here. How much is Shinpei going to have to die before he learns all the right things he has to do?
I mean, with Shinpei, like he doesn't have the same luxury that Subaru did like Subaru.
Well, that's
just,
what
like,
makes it more
yeah.
interesting. Where Subaru could continually do it. He could keep getting killed over and over again. But it seems like Shinpei he can't do that. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, if what's going to happen if he does die again. Because I feel like he is inevitably probably going to mess up again and have to do things over. But I'm kind of wondering, like, what the repercussions of that is going to be, considering they've kind of mentioned that his power has a limit. There's a limit to how many times he can continue to redo things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I would probably guess that he will end up dying maybe 2 to 3 more times in this show. I think
Probably.
I mean, this is like a 2-core series, so it's a really lengthy show already. But like Shinpei's already died like 3 times already, like within 6 episodes. So we have to wonder like how long Shinpei is going to end up lasting, for this particular loop, and how he's going to get around to, recruiting and convincing everyone to, to join his fight against the shadows, and of course the what's going to happen in the festival where everyone on the island ends up dying, like altogether.
Yeah, it is also going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen once they do get to that point, because it seems like the most likely, I guess, the main shadow that's kind of controlling all the other ones shows up at that point. So I'm kind of wondering like how they're going to approach that situation. It seems like that might be like that's just like the final day they can like try to overcome the shadows or something. I don't know, maybe not, but it kind of seems like it's set up that way. So yeah, I'm kind of curious as to what might happen there. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about it. I'm definitely looking forward to the next episode and seeing what's going to happen next. But that all being said, until next Friday, we will see you all next time.